Well, Donald Trump has already started the transition. We're told that it's been centered in West Palm Beach, down where Mar-a-Lago is. The transition team is already getting to work. We're going to see some of the familiar faces. I think Jason Miller, who has been a key aide of Donald Trump, will likely come back to the White House. He was already there in some capacity and has remained with Donald Trump in some capacity ever since. What's going to be interesting in terms of his press team, Stephen Chung, who has been one of the most outspoken members of Donald Trump's team. He's the one who's been responsible for some of the more colourful statements, shall we say, that have come out from the Trump camp. So it'll be interesting to see what his, on a personal level, what his press team look like and who's going to come to the White House. But when you look elsewhere, there's, of course, bigger names, people like Elon Musk, who at one point was promised a role within Trump's administration. Trump kind of walked that back at one point, but we'll see whether he ends up with a position in the government. Vivek Ramaswamy, who himself was trying to be the Republican nominee, he has also been pushing for some position within the government, some high-profile position, which is yet to be determined. And probably the most infamous one, as it were, would be RFK, the person who was running a third-party ticket, who, of course, then dropped out and endorsed Donald Trump. He has made a slew of interesting and bizarre headlines. He left the body of a dead bear cub in Central Park and ran it over with his bike to make it look like he'd been in a bike accident. He had a story about a brain worm that had eaten part of his brain and died within his brain. And then there was another story of him decapitating a dead whale on a beach in New England and strapping it to the roof of his car and driving back to New York. I promise you I'm not making any of those stories up. And he, who is a famous anti-vaxxer and became well known as an anti-vaxxer during the COVID pandemic, has almost been promised the role as head of healthcare in Trump's administration. So that would mean he would be overseeing the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, who are the ones who are overseeing the pandemic response, as well as the NIH, National Institute of Health, and others. So this does mean some interesting times ahead for a Trump team, but of course it's very early days and that transition team only just starting to form. We'll have more details on that as it fleshes out.